Good morning, friends. Before we dive into art today, we are stopping by the Coo Shed in Ayrshire, which is a coffee house on a dairy farm. I love supporting local businesses, and the Coo Shed deserves all the praises. Along with the coffee house, they have vending machines that offer fresh farm milk and tasty treats. You can even make your own milkshake. And on top of that, they also have a gift shop and plant nursery for you to explore. Coming from Chicago, where chains populate the four corners of the city, I find farmhouse cafes charming and welcoming. An environment that makes you feel like you're visiting family. I took my seat and noticed all the Coo decor on the walls. I love the idea of living on a farm, but the reality is I don't have the patience for rural living. My husband and I have recently tuned into the channel Rewilding Jude. We love watching Jude's progress on his cottage and land in Scotland. After watching just one episode though, I accepted that Jude has a level of gumption that I'm unwilling to exert on a daily basis. Chicago got me good, friends. I don't think I could ever let go of the comfort standards that Chicago endowed me with. I ordered scrambled eggs with toast and an Americano. Everything is delicious here. The coffee is amazing. I almost ordered a second one. I was able to spot the coffee that the Coo Shed staff uses on their shelves. Don't worry, friends. I will lock in and investigate how I could get some for the house. And yes, that's La Virgencita on my husband's wrist. He never takes it off. It was a little gift from my mom. I headed over to the gift shop after a little sit-in. I was tempted to buy all the pillows for Toby, but then I remembered how Toby recently de-stuffed his toy duck, ate the stuffing, and then was struggling to poop out the stuffing. I will not be fooled twice. We headed home before the day got any later so I could get some work done. The illustration that I'm working on has been quite the emotional one, and it's hard to talk about, but I'm going to do so anyway. The administration that is currently in office in what is now the United States is kidnapping and disappearing children. These children are being put in encampments without adequate food, water, and education. These children are being dehumanized because of the color of their skin, for being brown, for being black. A few weeks ago, Liam Ramos was taken by ICE agents in Minnesota. Liam was used as bait. He was returning home from school with his father when ICE detained his father. ICE agents then walked Liam to the front door of his home. ICE used this 5-year-old so they could also get a hold of his mother. Liam and his father are in the country as asylum seekers and have a pending case. They are not criminals. They are not the worst of the worst, as this administration claims. Images of Liam with his winter bunny hat and his Spider-Man book bag were everywhere online. His little face was in tears because he didn't know what was happening, because the trauma was too overwhelming. The world soon learned that Liam's health was deteriorating, that he wasn't eating, that he was experiencing nightmares, that he was depressed, that he was sleeping all the time, that he had contracted a fever and cough. Due to the efforts of Representatives Jasmine Crockett and Joaquin Castro, Liam and his father were released on February 1st. Liam and his father were wrongfully and inhumanely detained for 10 days. Liam, a 5-year-old boy, did not see his mother for 10 days. For 10 days, Liam asked his father what they did wrong. Where had his blue little conejo hat disappeared to? My heart broke. During interviews with Liam's school and classmates expressing their love and care for Liam, I teared up. How can the country I once called home be doing this? How is a society still dictating worth based on skin color? To hear the federal administration justify the kidnapping and detainment of Liam and his father angers and pains me. Their rhetoric of who belongs and doesn't belong is appalling. I stand with my Indigenous brown and black brothers and sisters in saying that no one is illegal on stolen land. After acknowledging and sitting in my emotions, my mind got to work. I wasn't going to stay silent. I was going to be loud, resilient, and creative. Friends, the illustration before your eyes is dedicated to all the brown and black kitties out there who have been kidnapped and are experiencing a lack of food, water, and education. Kitties who are being held from their families and friends' embrace. The kitties who are sick and are having nightmares because they are at detention centers that are in reality prisons. This illustration is dedicated to kitties with beautiful black and brown skin. All kitties deserve to radiate in the innocence of childhood. All kitties need to feel that they can reach for the stars, that they deserve the stars, that they belong among the stars. The kitties in my illustration are sitting on towers of books in amazement and joy that they are now in a space where endless possibilities, great things, big dreams are within their reach. I chose to place Liam Ramos in the center with his conejo knit hat and book bag. Liam's fight is still not over. Trump's lawyers are now looking to deport this 5-year-old back to Ecuador. Liam is still not a human in the eyes of many. They just want to make him disappear like all black and brown people. The next day, I came back to my illustration and almost immediately I asked myself, am I doing enough to decolonize my life? Am I doing enough as an ally? As you all know, I moved to Scotland almost 5 years ago. However, my parents, siblings, tías, tíos, primos, and primas still live in Chicago and the surrounding area. I find myself feeling inadequate in terms of being able to help the black and brown communities in what is not the US. I'm so far away physically. I'm unable to attend protests or marches or help with alerting communities of nearby ICE activity. I'm not there to check in with my family. Maybe I need to start with the basics of decolonization to arrive at some sort of answer. According to the Library and Culture Services of the University of Essex, decolonization involves identifying colonial systems, structures, and relationships, and working to challenge those systems. It is not integration, or simply the token inclusion of the intellectual achievements of non-white cultures. Rather, it involves a paradigm shift from a culture of exclusion and denial to the making of space for other political philosophies and knowledge systems. It is a culture shift to thinking more widely about why common knowledge is what it is, and in doing so, adjusting cultural perceptions and power relations. Friends, since the murder of George Floyd, my perspective began to shift. I became aware of the colonizer lens that I was using. I began to put in the work then. I saw documentaries, read books, and countless articles. Since the summer of 2020, I've become invested in the issues and histories of Black and Indigenous communities. Over the last 5 years, I've learned how connected these two communities are, and how my own ancestry and culture has been entangled with them as well. I began to identify and analyze the westernized narrative of history and how it chose to marginalize people of color. I began asking myself uncomfortable questions and relearning the history of my own culture. I dug deeper by learning about racism and enslavement from academics of color. When I personally was met with racism and a lack of inclusion in the educational space which brought me here to Scotland, I permanently removed the westernized lens from my eyes. I never looked back. Instead, I embraced the lens that was always there. It had been forcibly hidden for generations. My decolonizing lens is here to stay, and my illustrations are slowly but surely getting strong with conveying that. Let's set aside this piece, seeing that the line work is all done. I think it's a good idea to take out my watercolors and acrylics for the first time and use them to highlight a few points in what I'm going to say next. While I've experienced so much personal growth over the last 5 years, I still find myself trying to be a better ally and asking how can I unite myself with communities I once thought were separate from my own. Kinda like these watercolors and acrylics. Just as my brush has intertwined the turquoise, green, and violet acrylic paints in my sketchbook, I can't help but think how the histories of people of color across the Americas are all interconnected. Different generations have experienced the different guises of enslavement, genocide, assimilation, and racism initiated by Eurocentric beliefs and philosophies. What affects one color affects the rest, and what affects one group of people affects the rest. We've all seen this played out in history so many times. Sure, we might not understand each other's cultures, but we don't have to understand in order to be good allies, I think. It's about living in community with different cultures and belief systems. Kinda like these watercolors and acrylics. Yes, they're very different mediums, but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. Why can't we strive for unity? I don't think I'll ever feel like I'm doing enough to be considered a good ally. There's so much work to do, and I think this feeling will remain with me until society begins to decolonize every aspect of itself. As a result of the murders and kidnappings of the current administration of what is now the US, I've stopped equating my good ally status by how many books I read or all the research I had gathered and analyzed. My good ally status is now based on how honest and open I am in talking about these injustices in person and online on this channel. I'm done keeping to myself and not letting my decolonizing lens lead my voice. I'm done feeling the guilt of making others uncomfortable by questioning their stance or making them reflect. I think that art is political. It's always been. And to not talk about the stories behind my illustration is not what a good ally does. If my conversation or content or art causes anyone to begin to reflect and question the narrative that they've been forced to abide by, then I think I've begun to scratch the surface of what a good ally is. So friends, join me in scratching the surface, deeper and deeper. Join me in decolonizing the world we live in so that all humans, all children, are seen and heard from Minnesota to Palestine. Friends, let's continue to make art that challenges, unites, overcomes, and heals.